We all know that Jeff Bezos, the Amazon chief, is in India. He's facing government as well as the BJP's criticism, and leading it from the front is Mr. Piyush Goyal. Now, Commerce Minister said earlier this morning, he said that he's not doing a great favor by investing $1 billion in the Indian market. Now, what was the context? Well, the Commerce Minister and BJP's Foreign Affairs in charge, he warns Bezos. You have Vijay Chauthaiwale, who's also tweeting, saying that give this advice to your own country, to people in the United States. The government and the BJP's snub comes perhaps because Jeff Bezos' newspaper, the Washington Post, has been very, very critical. The criticism of the Narendra Modi government cannot be missed. The newspaper says Modi has stained India's democracy. Strong words that Washington Post uses against Narendra Modi. He says, pushing back Modi should listen. India is pushing back and Modi should listen. Those were the headlines. Now, Piyush Goyal says that Amazon is presently being investigated. See, the government is giving its own version why it feels that you should not consider doling out great favors to these e-tailers because they are under investigation in this country. Goyal's warning to e-commerce firms is that you should follow the letter and spirit of the law. Now, we'll tell you what that case is because we've got that graphic lined up. No top leader of this government is meeting Jeff Bezos. He was expected in the business press. This was expected, the PM Bezos meeting. However, that appointment was not granted about a month ago. It did not happen. India's competition watchdog is actually investigating Amazon as well as Flipkart. Flipkart, as you all know, is owned by Walmart. Amazon and Flipkart are being investigated by the government over trade practices. Now, what are these trade practices investigation? They're up on your screen right now. The Competition Commission of India, they say that they have found out that there are exclusive launches with preferential treatment which may hit competition. That means anyone who operates a brick and mortar shop is at a disadvantage because of these giants who come from outside, have restrictive and monopolistic trade practices, and thus they may disrupt the market. Joint dominance is now in the probe purview. They are trying to see whether there is some sort of a cartel which operates. Exclusive supplier pacts and deep discounting. This model is presently under investigation, where Amazon and Flipkart are ideally supposed to source material from suppliers. However, there is an allegation against them that they have preferential listings, and these are links to preferred sellers. They choose who they want as their sellers. So these are all the allegations against them. Sellers part funding of the big discounts, which means an allegation is that these sellers are they are in a way partly funding those massive discounts that you see, 60%, 70%, 80% off on these websites. Basically not sustainable. They're non-sustainable, and often means that you run into losses. So how are they funding the losses? You've got Piyush Goyal, who says that they're not doing a favor. He says, I have said this to investors, please follow the letter and spirit of the law. Don't try and find the loopholes in the law. He also went on to say that you can't have a situation where you first run into losses in this country, and in order to fund those losses, you try to pretend as if you are bringing in investment of $1 billion. You're basically funding your losses in this country. So his advice is follow the spirit of the law in this country. Let's first quickly listen in to what Jeff Bezos said yesterday, and then the advice that came in from the Commerce Minister.
Today, we're announcing that we're going to invest an incremental $1 billion in digitizing small and medium businesses. And part of that is that we are going to use, again, try to use Amazon's size, scope, and scale. We're going to use our global footprint to export outside of India, to export $10 billion of Make in India goods.
They may have put in $1 billion, but then if they make a loss of $1 billion every year, then they jolly well have to finance that $1 billion. So it's not as if they're doing a great favor to India when they invest $1 billion. They are investing money over the last few years, also in warehousing and certain other activities, which is welcome, which is good. But if they are bringing in money largely to finance losses, and those losses in an e-commerce marketplace model, a fair marketplace model in a turnover of $10 billion, if you're going to have a loss of $1 billion, $1.5 billion, it certainly raises questions where the loss came from. How can a marketplace make such a big loss unless they are indulging in predatory pricing or some unfair trade practices? These are real questions which will need answers, and I'm sure the authorities who are looking at it will seek those answers, and I'm sure the e-commerce companies will have their say on that.
Okay, I'm going to take short comments from each of my three guests at this moment, all experts in their field. I've got Vivek Reddy of the BJP, Praveen Khandelwal, you're the General Secretary of the Confederation of All India Traders, who've been very vocal against these e-commerce platforms, and Professor Arun Kumar, a noted economist, is also with us. Praveen Khandelwal, let me first begin with you. What's your main reservation? Because the government seems to be echoing your concern. What's your main reservation?
Well, the main reservation is both Amazon and Flipkart are continuously flouting the FDI policy and its fundamentals and law of the land. With the result, they are indulging into predatory pricing, deep discounting, loss funding, then having preferential seller system, exclusivity, as also influencing the prices, and all these things are prohibited under FDI policy. And this business module of Amazon and Flipkart has shattered the retail trade of the country, which is being run by 7 crore traders. And let me tell you, around 1 lakh shops have been closed in last 4 months because of business model of these companies. And I must appreciate Honorable Mr. Piyush Goyal that today he has reiterated or today he has corroborated the stand what we have taken since last 4 months. And now it is the right time for the government to come into action and to save, to protect the traders. Let me also tell you that we are not against e-commerce per se, whether Amazon conducts or Flipkart conducts. But we want that everybody should follow the FDI policy of the country.
Follow the policy,
and if
follow the law in the letter and spirit, and then go ahead and do your business. Okay, Praveen Khandelwal, I have a very limited time. Professor Arun Kumar.
Yes, or otherwise they should leave India.
Okay, quit India if you don't want to follow the policy. Professor Arun Kumar, do you think that while we do need to tell these international giants that they cannot arm twist the Indian law, can't find loopholes, or at least follow the spirit of the law? I don't think the Commerce Minister is wrong in saying what he has, but the manner in which it has been said, do you think, and that too to a person who's a very rich and influential person, he's a businessman, a world-renowned businessman, do you think at a time like this when we want international investment, will it send out a good message? The manner in which...
So, you know, what Mr. Praveen Khandelwal is saying is completely following predatory pricing. They've been doing all kinds of monopolistic practices. A lot of small traders are hurting. All that is right. But the point is that there are so many policies of this government which are hurting the small traders. Like, for instance, GST and the idea of digitization. Both of them are hurting. Why is it not changing that? So I think here something more than meets the eye. The Washington Post has been very critical. Jeff Bezos is a liberal person, and that's why I think what is happening at this point of time, where he's been given, you know, a very short shift by the government, where you know he's not being given an appointment with the powers that be, and his point of view is not coming across as a result of this. So I think it is really, this government doesn't like criticism, doesn't tolerate criticism. It doesn't tolerate criticism within the country also. So therefore, it's signaling to the outside world that we will not tolerate criticism. But this is going to be very counterproductive, because at this point, the government is trying to attract foreign capital and trying to bring MNCs, because how to achieve the 102 lakh crore investment target? That would require a lot of investment. And I think one source would be the foreign capital that could come in. So I think, it's really the criticism part that's the more important thing, rather than protecting the small traders and the small producers in the Indian context.
Okay, interesting point. Vivek Reddy, now a political question. Number one, should or could the Commerce Minister have used better words, right? Number one. Is this born out of the fact that Jeff Bezos' newspaper is extremely critical and criticizes Narendra Modi's policies? Is it also got to do with the fact, and this is my addition, the Delhi elections? Because you can't manage to upset the traders who form a large vote bank in the national capital.
Well, I think the only message, Sanket, the quick answer to all the three questions that you raised. The only message that this government is putting out to Jeff Bezos and some other investors is, you come with clean money and you have clean business practices. This is the line that the government has drawn, and the government is fair. I mean, it takes courage to say that, and it takes a lot of grit to say that, look here, you bring in clean money and you have clean practices.
I agree with all of that, Vivek Reddy. While I agree with all of that, to have a person operate in this country and to not meet that person who is in your country, what sort of a message will this send out to international investors? To not have been given any appointment.
I don't think you can draw any inference or any conclusion on these things. There is a Competition Commission of India inquiry going on.
Fair
Perhaps
enough.
the government is awaiting the report of the inquiry. The government was also to ensure transparency in all its activities.
So then the Prime Minister or anyone from the government could have met him and told him this. Stop predatory pricing. Stop running into losses. Follow the spirit of the law.
Under investigation. No, Sanket, unless and until there is a conclusion in the inquiry, nobody can say stop the pricing.
Okay,
the inquiry is going on. There is deep suspicion that these unwanted practices are going on.
It's the message that you send out internationally at a time when you're looking for investment. That's the only point that I'm making. Praveen Khandelwal, very quickly, running out of time. You wanted to make a point.
Yes, I think that this is the right time to give a message to the world, and especially when Mr. Jeff Bezos is still in India, that India welcome investment, but whosoever comes to the country must have to follow the law of the land, the policy of the government. Otherwise, they will not be allowed to conduct their business activities, and it is the domain of the sovereign state.
Okay.